Which domain in Jujutsu Kaisen is the most powerful? Now that the series has ended, we can take a closer look at each domain and rank them purely based on strength and functionality, without focusing on the characters themselves. Some fans may disagree with the rankings, so feel free to share your own opinions in the comments. Let's jump in. At the bottom of the list is Yorozu's domain, Threefold Affliction. The main threat is Yorozu's perfect sphere, a theoretical object with no point of contact, allowing it to exert infinite pressure. If it touches you, the battle should be over instantly. However, Yorozu's domain never got the chance to showcase its true potential. Before she could fully utilize the perfect sphere, Sukuna summoned Mahoraga, which destroyed the domain. While the domain is powerful in theory, it fails to stand up to higher-level sorcerers, leaving Threefold Affliction as a concept with potential that never fully delivers in practice. Next, we have Dagon's domain, Horizon of the Captivating Skanda. This domain is a step above Yorozu's, trapping the target in a beautiful yet deadly aquatic environment. Dagon's Shikigami relentlessly attack the opponent, and the domain's guaranteed hit effect ensures that these attacks land, overwhelming the enemy. His Death Swarm, a flood of fish-like Shikigami, can devour the target, creating a terrifying combination of beauty and destruction. Without Megumi's shadow techniques, they would have been defeated. However, Toji was able to slice through Dagon's domain with relative ease, proving that while dangerous, it is not unbeatable. Moving up the list is Naoya Zenin's domain, Time Cell Moon Palace. After becoming a cursed spirit, Naoya unlocked this domain, which operates around his cursed technique, projection sorcery. The domain enforces a 24 FPS rule, meaning if you don't move in sync with the frame rate, your body will be torn apart, cell by cell. True horror of this domain lies in how it targets the body at the cellular level, cutting off limbs if the opponent cannot keep pace. Maki barely survived it, thanks to her awakened abilities. This domain is terrifying in both its precision and psychological impact, as it forces opponents to be hyper-aware of every movement, making any mistake potentially fatal. Naoya's Time Cell Moon Palace stands out as a chilling reminder of how deadly precision can be in battle. Then we have the domain of Mahito, the curse everyone loves to hate, self-embodiment of perfection. In this domain, the environment transforms into a massive hand, symbolizing Mahito's cursed technique, idol transfiguration. The hand represents Mahito's desire for control and manipulation, reflecting his twisted philosophy about the nature of the soul and humanity. The domain forces contact between Mahito and his target's soul, guaranteeing that his technique will reshape it with every hit. While terrifying, Mahito's domain has a clear drawback. He needs to touch the soul directly each time, which is why it failed against Yuji, who had Sukuna's protection. While dangerous, it's not as overwhelming as some of the higher-ranked domains. Mahito's domain also emphasizes the need for cunning and intelligence, as his effectiveness heavily depends on his ability to manipulate and outsmart his opponents, rather than relying solely on raw power. This makes encounters within his domain not just a test of strength, but also a battle of wits, illustrating how intellect can play a crucial role in combat. Speaking of overwhelming, Jogo's domain, Coffin of the Iron Mountain, turns the entire battlefield into a volcanic landscape. This domain is visually and thematically consistent with Jogo's character, embodying his fiery rage and destructive capabilities. Lava surrounds the target, and the domain's guaranteed hit effect makes it lethal for anyone caught in it. The extreme heat alone is enough to kill any ordinary person. However, as strong as Jogo's domain is, it couldn't measure up to Gojo's Infinity or Sukuna's Mastery. Even against a sorcerer like Yuta, Jogo's domain might fall short. But still, it's miles ahead of Mahito's because it can overpower even simple domains, whereas Mahito's can be resisted by those with strong souls. Jogo's domain highlights the contrast between brute force and finesse, demonstrating how raw destructive power can create an intimidating and dangerous environment for opponents. Next, we come to Megumi Fushiguro's Chimera Shadow Garden. Before you get upset, let me explain why I rate this domain higher. Even though it's incomplete, it has shown some seriously impressive potential. Megumi can create multiple copies of his Shikigami and himself, deceiving his opponents and increasing his chances of landing hits. This capability adds an element of unpredictability to his attacks, allowing him to exploit openings that other sorcerers might not see coming. The domain also allows Megumi to spread his shadow everywhere, even above the enemy, letting him summon his Shikigami from unexpected angles. This versatility is a key factor in its effectiveness. Megumi can adapt his strategy on the fly, keeping opponents guessing about where the next attack will come from. Plus, anyone standing on the shadow has to reinforce their cursed energy or risk being swallowed by it. Inside the shadow, there's no oxygen, and if the opponent doesn't escape, they'll suffocate. The suffocation aspect adds an element of time pressure to fights within this domain, forcing opponents to act quickly or face dire consequences. It's an incredibly versatile domain, even if Megumi has to bear the weight of everything within it. Combine that with the power of his divine dog, Totality, and Megumi's domain stands out as a serious contender. The synergy between his Shikigami and his domain creates an almost symbiotic relationship, showcasing the depths of his skill and creativity as a sorcerer. The next domain on our list is as wild as its user. I'm talking about Hikari Kinji's Idle Death Gamble. This domain functions like a Japanese slot machine, or pachinko. The rules are simple. If Kinji gets 3 matching symbols, he hits the jackpot and gains infinite cursed energy for exactly 4 minutes and 11 seconds. During this time, he unconsciously uses reverse curse technique to prevent being overwhelmed by all that energy, healing any injuries he takes in battle. In short, for 4 minutes and 11 seconds, Kinji becomes practically immortal. The problem? Once his time runs out, Kinji's power goes back to normal. But as long as he keeps hitting the jackpot, he can expand his domain again and again. The catch is that he can't reactivate his domain until the immortality period ends. Plus, Kinji's already a beast in close combat, so his domain is all about endurance. And with the immortality factor, it's almost like he's cheating. We can't do this ranking without mentioning Kenjaku's domain, Womb Profusion. Creepy is an understatement here. This domain brings forth a twisted tree with pregnant women. Some are tribal, others headless, with branches growing out of their necks. The trunk is made of faces frozen in lament. While the domain's exact effect is tricky to define, it seems to generate immense pressure, similar to Kenjaku's gravity technique. Inside, Kenjaku's curse techniques become even more powerful. After perfecting barrier techniques over a millennium, Kenjaku can expand his domain without fully closing the barrier, allowing it to break through even the simple domains of high-level sorcerers, as seen in his battle against Yuki Tsukumo. There's no surviving Womb Profusion unless you're on Kenjaku's level. Next, we have one of my personal favorites, Hiromi Higuruma's domain, Deadly Sentencing. This one's unique because, unlike most domains, it doesn't have a guaranteed kill effect. Instead, it enforces judgment. The domain takes the form of a courtroom, complete with guillotines, and places both Higuruma and his opponent on podiums. Violence isn't allowed during the trial. Presiding over the courtroom is Higuruma's Shikigami, Judgment, who brings up accusations and evidence that even Higuruma is unaware of. The accused can either stay silent, deny, or plead guilty. If found guilty, there are 2 penalties. Confiscation. The opponent loses their curse technique or energy, putting them at a serious disadvantage. Confiscation plus death penalty. Higuruma's hammer turns into a sword, and if it touches the opponent, it's an instant kill, no exceptions. While it's not the most powerful domain in terms of brute force, Deadly Sentencing is incredibly intricate. The combination of judgment and execution makes it one of the deadliest in the series, earning Higuruma a high spot in this ranking. Moving on to Yuji's domain. Although not officially named by the author, fans refer to it as Benevolent Shrine. It is heavily implied that all of Yuji's attacks target the soul, similar to Mahito's Idol Transfiguration. This direct targeting adds a profound level of danger to Yuji's fighting style, making him a formidable opponent even without flashy abilities. Yuji possesses the technique Dismantle, which is also used by Sukuna, highlighting the influence Sukuna has on Yuji's combat abilities. Sukuna embedded various techniques into Yuji during their time together, meaning that Yuji has access to these potent abilities. While the domain may not appear as visually extravagant as others, its true power lies in its ability to inflict deep and lasting damage. This quality makes Yuji incredibly dangerous in battles, even if his domain does not rank among the top 3 in terms of overall might. Taking 3rd place is Yuta Okatsu's domain, Authentic Mutual Love, which is a remarkable manifestation of both aesthetic beauty and deadly effectiveness. It features stone crosses symbolizing the bond between Yuta and his deceased friend Rika. The barrier's edges are adorned with decorative knots, traditionally used in Japanese wedding gifts, further emphasizing the emotional connection that drives Yuta's abilities. Inside this domain, Yuta has the unique capability to store any techniques he has copied using the scattered katana placed throughout the area. Each katana disappears after its respective technique is executed, adding a strategic layer to Yuta's combat style. One of the most powerful aspects of Yuta's domain is his ability to link any copied technique to a guaranteed hit effect. This means that when Yuta employs a copied technique, it will hit its target without fail. This feature allows him to counter formidable opponents like Sukuna effectively, using Angel's technique to neutralize threats. Yuta has copied several powerful abilities, including Dismantle, Cleave, Thin Icebreaker, Shikigami, and Jacob's Ladder. The combination of his diverse arsenal and the guaranteed hit effect means Yuta can effectively dismantle almost any domain he faces. However, despite his incredible strength and versatility, he still falls short against the top 2 domains in this ranking, indicating that there are still greater challenges awaiting him. Now, we reach the exciting climax of our ranking with the top 2 domains, Gojo Satoru's Infinite Void and Ryomen Sukuna's Malevolent Shrine. According to the manga, these 2 domains are considered evenly matched. Yet, for the purposes of this ranking, I had to base my decision on their direct confrontation. During their intense battle, both Gojo and Sukuna faced off against each other's domains, leading to some astonishing results. Gojo was able to endure Sukuna's Malevolent Shrine, but Sukuna barely survived just a few milliseconds in Gojo's Infinite Void. The outcome was significant. Gojo inflicted irreversible brain damage on Sukuna that lingered for hours. This crucial factor leads me to conclude that Gojo's domain is the more dangerous of the 2. Malevolent Shrine resembles a demonic Buddhist sanctuary, complete with horns protruding from the roof, skulls ominously hanging from the edges, and eerie mouths on each side. Within the guaranteed hit zone of this domain, Sukuna's infamous slashing attacks, Cleave and Dismantle, are capable of striking everything in their path, whether it possesses cursed energy or not. Sukuna's domain boasts an impressive coverage area, allowing him to obliterate other domains from a distance. Adding to his formidable arsenal is Kamino. After using Cleave and Dismantle, Sukuna can generate intense flames from his hands, incinerating his targets within a furnace-like environment. Although this technique is undeniably terrifying, it still doesn't quite surpass Gojo's Infinite Void for the top spot. Gojo's domain stands out due to its unique functionality. Infinite Void overwhelms its target with an endless barrage of stimuli, paralyzing them through sheer overload of information. The experience is disorienting, as they feel everything and nothing all at once. To put it into perspective, just 0.2 seconds inside Infinite Void equates to 6 months' worth of information flooding the brain. Non-sorcerers are rendered unconscious almost immediately, and even the mighty Sukuna found himself incapacitated for hours. Sheer psychological terror of being trapped within this domain solidifies its status as the most dangerous technique in all of Jujutsu Kaisen. Before we conclude, it's worth mentioning an honorable mention, Yuki Tsukumo's domain. Although we don't know much about it yet, there's a possibility that it could rival Kenjaku's domain in power. And with that, we wrap up the ranking. If you have any disagreements or thoughts on this ranking, feel free to drop them in the comments. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share the video. Thanks for tuning in, and see you next time.